the most chaotic ending in modern football memory as the Broncos came back and beat the Giants 33-32 in a game where the Giants missed 2 extra points. That turned out to be the difference. In a game where we saw massive lead changes over and over and over in the last 2 minutes. In a game where the Broncos scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. Caroline, what's your overreaction?
Yeah, those TV shows where you just like are really dragging through the first couple of episodes and then you find yourself scrolling on your phone because it's kind of boring and you're like, I don't want to watch this. And then the last episode rolls around and you're like, what? Like, what just happened? And it's like, that's the best show I've ever seen ever in my whole entire life after the first 9 episodes were grueling and boring. That is exactly what this Giants-Broncos game was yesterday, because it was probably the most fun I've had watching a football game this entire season. And like the last 5 minutes of the game, we had 3 lead changes. We had Bo Nix looking absolutely brutal through 3 quarters and then looking like John Elway in the last 5 minutes of that game. It was an absolute blast. And I know that we have a rule on this show that we don't talk about the losing team first. We always give the winning team their flowers. But this game was so weird. I think it warrants a shakeup in what our rules and regulations are for how we dictate discussions. I think my number one overreaction is Jaxson Dart has given a team more vibes, more energy, has the best aura, as the kids say, of any young quarterback that we've seen since Joe Burrow. Like, Jaxson Dart is doing to the Giants what we saw Joe Burrow do in his second year with the Cincinnati Bengals. And of course, year 1, he tore his ACL, so he didn't have that same kind of level of impact that maybe Jaxson Dart has had for the Giants in year 1. And I know the Giants lost, and I know that Jaxson Dart threw that absolute back-breaking interception in the fourth quarter that was really kind of the turning point of this game, and you can't do that. You can't do that as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. But the level of cool, calm, collectedness, and confidence that Jaxson Dart had, even when it felt like things were going off the rails for the Giants, I thought was so incredibly impressive. You cannot shake the confidence of this guy. There is nothing that you can do that will make Jaxson Dart think, man, I don't know if I can do this. Man, I don't know if this is a throw that I can make. Man, I don't know if I can, really make plays against pressure like this that this defense is throwing me. That Jaxson Dart has this level of confidence of like, I don't give an F. Like the kind of confidence that I think Joe Burrow has, the kind of confidence that I think Baker Mayfield has. Even in a loss, I feel like Giants fans should be so incredibly excited and optimistic about what they're getting from their young quarterback, because I understand it was a loss, but that's a game that previous iterations of the New York Giants aren't even in, but they were in until the last second because of their young quarterback in Jaxson Dart.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You see the numbers there that Benjamin Solak put up. The next gen stats, 149.3 passer rating when they blitzed Jaxson Dart. I'm sorry, Caroline. I thought the point of this was overreactions. That's not an overreaction. Look, you're right. This was a sham wow game. But wait, every single time you turn the corner.
But wait, there's more.
Moment to me. Yeah, I know. The biggest moment to me was with a couple minutes to go when everything had collapsed on the Giants and there was just all the reason in the world to lay down and just, No, Jaxson Dart came out and led them down the field for what should have been the game-winning touchdown. Jaxson Dart made the incredible play from the 2-yard line, 1-yard line after the penalty to try and dive himself into the end zone. It was absolutely epic from Jaxson Dart. So I'm with you. I don't even think that's an overreaction. I think right now Giants fans have a ton of hope because they know they got a quarterback that's electric and the rest of the league can't wait to watch it. I'll give you my first overreaction. I've seen enough. Here we are, my first overreaction of the day. The Cowboys have the best offense in the NFL, and they're headed to the playoffs. And I don't give a damn about your defense. I don't care. Y'all can sit here and talk about, they can't stop anybody. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. In fact, today, I think the Cowboys actually have a better offense than the Bengals had last year. So if your argument is, we saw it last year with the Bengals, I would tell you, number one, that Bengals team wasn't healthy throughout the course of the entire season. If their offense had been, I think they would have made the playoffs. Number two, Dak Prescott right now is playing the best football of his career, and it's not even close. And he's throwing to CeeDee Lamb, who comes back in yesterday's game from injury and absolutely opens this offense up to another level. And now all of a sudden, George Pickens, who, don't miss this now, George is not a number 2. George is a number 1. and he's out there playing at a number 2, and he's going to get paid because of it. On top of all of that, Javonte Williams has turned out to be a delightful find at the running back position. They got a tight end in Ferguson that can absolutely be dynamic. This offense for the Cowboys can beat you any way they want to, anyhow they want to, and nobody's going to have an answer for them. The Cowboys are 3-3-1 now. For all of the disaster talk, they're 3-3-1. They're in the thick of the playoff conversation. Their offense is going to score 40 points like they did over and over and over again. Get used to it. The Cowboys are going to score points, and they're going to the playoffs.
I don't disagree with that in the slightest, but man, oh man, how frustrating is it to be a Cowboys fan to see, and I know they're coming off of a win. I get that. But the Cowboys have zero business being 3-3-1 with the offense that they have, the level of explosiveness that they have. How frustrating is that of like, hey, like our team has to score 35 plus to win games because our defense isn't stopping a nosebleed. The good thing is the Cowboys can score 35 plus, but ooh, man, is that not a kind of a recipe for disaster in some games when you're going up against better defenses that are going to be able to stop Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, but easier said than done. Not easy to stop Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, but I'll look at the other side of this matchup. I'll overreact to the other side of this matchup, and that is I am officially concerned about Jayden Daniels' availability. I'm officially concerned about the hits that Jayden Daniels is taking and the injuries that he's sustaining because of it. Because this Commanders team will ebb and flow as Jayden Daniels ebbs and flows. I don't think that's an overreaction in the slightest. I mean, the Commanders are a miserable franchise. Insert Jayden Daniels, and all of a sudden, you're in the NFC Championship game. So if Jayden Daniels cannot be available for the better part of 17 games, if Jayden Daniels is on again, off again, on the field, off the field due to injury, this Commanders team it not just isn't going to, make a run in the playoffs. This Commanders team isn't going to make the playoffs. The Commanders right now are the worst team in the NFC East. Those weren't the expectations for this team. The expectations for this team were Jayden Daniels MVP and make it right back into the NFC Championship game. Make it right back into a Super Bowl conversation. But we had Jayden Daniels miss time earlier this season with a left knee injury. He comes back now. He's going under an evaluation and an MRI to really look at how bad this right hamstring injury is that he suffered yesterday and had to leave the game for a good part of that game yesterday. So it was the hamstring, now it's the knee. The offensive line, I don't think can protect Jayden Daniels enough. His style of play opens him up to more injury. And that is, I think, Jayden Daniels' style of play is going to be, his rise and his demise. The style of play is what makes Jayden Daniels so exciting. His style of play, the rollouts, the extending plays, off-platform throws, the improvisation that Jayden Daniels has shown, like that's what makes this team so great and him so great as a quarterback. It also opens him up to more and more unnecessary hits. So I'm concerned, Fitz, about Jayden Daniels' availability and this Commanders team being able to win games without him.
Yeah, 100%. Again, I don't think that's an overreaction. And without him, the Commanders are the worst team in their division. The Giants are on the rise with Jaxson. I know that they lost, but
yeah,
I feel like the Giants gave us some hope. And right now, Washington sort of remembers what that hope was like a year ago today. Right now, I think they're concerned. No Jayden Daniels. If you got Marcus Mariota for the rest, for any sustainable amount of time, I should say, that's going to make a big difference. What about the Eagles? The Eagles win yesterday over the Vikings. Are we going to be able to overreact to this? Can we say, Caroline Fenton, that the Philadelphia Eagles are fixed? You willing to go there?
They're fixed. The Eagles are back. The Eagles are back. And look, it was not an overreaction to say just a couple of weeks ago that the Eagles were broken because the Eagles wanted to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game and run it with Saquon Barkley like 6 times. I go, what are we doing? That's not your recipe for success. That's not a lack of talent. That's not a team just being better than you. That is a fundamental issue within play calling. That is your offensive coordinator not having a feel or an idea for how you want to win football games. That is letting that man right there, A.J. Brown, dictate what you do in terms of play calling, what you do in the passing game, because A.J. Brown's upset, because Devontae Smith's upset, because they're not getting what they want. They're not getting fed the ball. That felt like there was just a fundamental crack in the armor and what the Eagles wanted to do. But now we see what they did yesterday against the Minnesota Vikings. Jalen Hurts had one more incompletion than he did have touchdown passes yesterday. That Devontae Smith got the ball, 9 catches, 183 yards, and a touchdown. A.J. Brown got fed 4 receptions, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They didn't need to run the ball effectively yesterday, Fitzy, because they were hitting in the passing game so well. So a team that felt broken because they just didn't have it felt like an identity offensively. They weren't playing to their identity. Now, all of a sudden, this passing game is figured out, and they can kill you in two types of ways, whether it's with Saquon on the ground or with those two through the air, with Jalen Hurts playing incredibly effectively. Jalen Hurts, doing what he does best, I think. Like the Eagles are fixed. If we had any concern about the Eagles repeating and going right back to the Super Bowl, I think what we saw yesterday can ease any of those concerns. The Eagles are a Super Bowl team.
Look, you're right. I do believe the Eagles are a Super Bowl caliber football team. I also think it's probably fair to just say, hey, at this point, with Philly particularly, I'm not sure they were ever really broken. I think the problem with Philly for most of us is that the Eagles are willing to do whatever each week they think will win them that football game. And that's going to drive fans crazy. It's going to drive media crazy because, frankly, if they look at it and say, now this is a running week, they're going to run the football. And if they look at it and say, now this is passing week, they're going to pass the football, which, by the way, every team should do. But very few teams are capable of simply deciding, hey, today we're going to look left, today we're going to look right. I think that's who the Philadelphia Eagles are, and we should have learned that last year. That's exactly who the Eagles were throughout the course of last year. The discourse all season long was like, well, they're not using the passing game, and they're not using the weapons they have. Everything feels broken. And then when they needed those weapons, they used them. I think yesterday was a really good reminder that the Philadelphia Eagles are not going to be beholden to fantasy football. They don't give a damn what any of us have to say on any of our shows. They are simply going to every single week come in with the game plan they think helps them win. And when we see results like this, we become comfortable with that. But also, like, look at Saquon's numbers yesterday, 18 carries, 44 yards. Like, if they lose that game, we're going to sit here and say, oh, well, they didn't run the ball as well as they need. Like, that's the lose-lose of Philadelphia. The reality of it is the Eagles every week are going to slice and dice you. However, you're not ready to be sliced and diced. So you're right. I don't think it's an overreaction that the Eagles are headed to Super Bowl caliber games. I think they're going to be right in the thick of it all the way through. I think the overreaction was everybody, including us at times, leading up to this, screaming about how it was broken, when in fact, that's just how the Eagles are built. The Eagles are built to beat you ugly, whatever that means, every single week.
I didn't feel like that was an overreaction though, really, because it felt so just wrong. It felt so icky. When you're watching a horror movie and you see someone like go into the dark basement with a killer in the house instead of just walking outside and going into their car? Like, what are you doing? It's so obvious that what you're doing is so dumb. Stop doing that. You're yelling at the TV. That's how I felt watching the Eagles for several weeks whenever they just kept throwing the football when the passing game wasn't working. I'm like, what are you doing? It is so obvious that what you're doing is silly. It is so obvious that that's not how you want to win football games. It just felt like whether it was on the field, whether it was play calling, whether it was off the field, with all of the AJ Brown, the tweets, the discussions in media scrums with reporters after games of him being very obviously upset and frustrated with how he wasn't getting the ball. It just felt like there was so much tension building up. And then you double that down with the fact that the Eagles lost 2 games in a row. It's like, oh, the tension feels like it's starting to boil over. Now, all of a sudden, the passing game is clicking. You're winning games again. You win a game on the road. All is well in Eagle Land.